All those shifts and pivots and setbacks led me to this point, right? Like I gained so much knowledge from every single thing, and it really helped shape who I am. It really helped build my confidence in multiple different areas, and also believe that just because something feels like a failure doesn't mean that it's a failure. It is just a pivot and a shift into something that's greater and meant for you. You just weren't ready for it yet. Welcome to the Bold Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Jen Kinal, and this is a space where bold moves meet inspired action. Join us as we dive into stories, strategies, and mindset of those who are building their dreams, creating impactful communities, and redefining success on their terms. Whether you're looking for practical business tips, a boost of inspiration, or a community that gets your vision, you are in the right place. Get ready to elevate your journey and embrace what it means to be a bold founder. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Bold Entrepreneur Podcast. Today we are going to do a solo episode with me, your host, Jen Kinal, and I really wanted to talk about the idea of being really resilient in your business, also as a person, and then being open to pivoting and shifting and adjusting your business, because things are going to happen and things are going to shift and challenge you, and we need to know how we can navigate those challenges and how we can also reinvent ourselves and our business. So I wanted to share a little bit of my journey, because my journey definitely has been a lot of shifting, pivoting, and adjusting. And in a way, at the time going through it, it really felt like a big failure. But in the long run, when I look back at all these challenges and the pivots and these things that made me like cry and like lose hope, really shaped who I am. It brought me to the business that I have today. It brought me to podcasting in front of you guys. And I just think that even though we are faced with some really hard things in our life, they really shift and mold and create who we are and what we're able to offer. And this is one of my favorite things about hosting this podcast, is it gives me an opportunity to not only share my story, because I really hope that my story encourages you to feel the resilience that you have within you and to know that you're strong enough to tackle any challenge, but also to see these stories of these women who on the front, like on social media and where they are current present day, you look at them and you're like, they're doing amazing. It's just so incredible what they've achieved. And how could I ever do that? But we don't see the behind the scenes that went into creating that journey to where they are now. The parts that were really hard and made them want to give up. The parts that really challenged them or had them in their bathroom in tears, right? Like, we don't get to see those parts. And those are the parts that really get us to feel like we're not alone. Like, we can do this. We can do this together. We can do this on our own. We can do this with our family support, with our friends support. We have the opportunity to really create the life in the business and everything we want. And that's one of the things that I love about this and sharing with you, is that our business is designed by us. It doesn't have to be like within a mold. We get to decide what the mold looks like. And so I wanted to really share my journey of all my ups and downs and hardships and challenges, so that you can see that you're not alone, but also sometimes the most scary, fearful thing can make the most beautiful opportunities for us. So I'm going to start back when I was doing events. So in 2006, I started an event planning company with a good friend of mine, and we did pretty good. At this time of life, there wasn't a whole lot of event planning companies. There really wasn't even social media too prevalently. And so we kind of just like put our business out there and then just started getting business, right? We just started ramping up. It wasn't like cool. Like there wasn't my best friend's wedding or any of those like wedding planner shows or Say Yes to the Dress. None of those were popular yet. So we really had like the market. And so at this time, it was really amazing. I had this business planner. We did everything together. It was incredible. She ended up moving to Kelowna. And so I ended up taking over the company full time, which then led me to like really adjusting the company and building it the way I wanted to, but also really building it so that it was really busy and successful and booked solid, which is exactly what you want when you have a wedding planning industry. And at the same time, this is where like I had so much energy. I don't even know how I managed to handle all this, but at the same time, I was also working for my parents' construction company. So let's rewind a little bit more. For me to get into university, I had to pay for my own university. That was the deal. So I would work for my parents' construction company in the refinery, and that's how I paid for school. And so, like, I would work in the refinery. I would go in every single day. I would do I'd be like a stop sign girl. I would also operate heavy equipment. I would be the laser, like the leveler, to make sure the ground was all level. And so I did like quite a few jobs, which I think was really, really impactful in even teaching myself that I can do anything, because I am, as you can tell by all the pink and everything, if you're watching this on video or even on all my branding, there is so much pink. I'm such a girly girl when it comes to like that kind of stuff. And so that was like probably my first like introduction into saying, okay, you can do anything, because if you can go out into construction and get like all dirty and challenge yourself and take on this role, then you can do anything. And so now we fast forward back to, I was working in my event planning business, but also at the same time I was working for my parents in the office of their construction company. So we still had the maintenance contract with the refinery at that time. And so I would, like, during the day, I would work for them. And then at nighttime, I would do all the logistics for my event planning company. And I just remember sitting in bed and like working every single night, making sure that all my event stuff was done. And during the day, I would do all the books and stuff like that for the construction company. Yeah, I don't know how I managed to do it, because there's no possible way that I could do this nowadays, but I did. I kept up with it. But it did get to a point where it was like, okay, we can't just keep doing this, because all I was doing was working nonstop on both things. And my sister and I had the opportunity to potentially take over the construction company. And so I had decided, okay, if we take it over, I'm either going to take it over and like this is going to be my thing and I won't do events anymore, or I really need to focus on events because it was getting to be too much. So maybe I couldn't handle quite all of it because of the energy aspect of it. But I decided, okay, I've seen what my parents have created. I've seen like the life that they were able to give us. I've seen the stability in it. And at that time, and even still, events are very seasonal. You get full during the summer. You're busy at Christmas time, but you're not super busy in the in-between moments. So in the winter time, you're not super busy other than Christmas, which is kind of gives that little bit of that feast or famine aspect, where making money like crazy in the summer and then all of a sudden you're making nothing, and then you're making money at Christmas time and then all of a sudden you're making nothing. And so you'd really have to stretch out your money throughout those seasons where you weren't making anything. Whereas my parents' construction company, even though construction is seasonal, they had the maintenance contract with the refinery, which meant that they were able to work year round, which was pretty incredible for a construction company. But on top of that, we were also able to keep our employees working the whole time, which was really powerful because, again, that's not something that typically happens in the construction industry. And it really created like this family environment with the people that worked for my parents. And so in my decision making, I kind of had to decide, okay, do I continue with events, which I love. I love the decor aspect. I love the planning aspect, the logistics, all those things, but it's not stable. It's not allowing me to have a consistent income. I'm really busy in the summer when my kids are off school, and so I don't get to enjoy that as much. And like I said, I've seen what my parents were able to create with their life, the lifestyle they were able to create, the travel that we were able to do as a family. And if you know me, my travel is my favorite thing in the entire world, because I think it's just such a great way for your family to really just get together and just really connect. And so I ended up choosing the construction company. So I decided, okay, I'm going to let the events go. I'm not going to focus on them anymore, which again was also very hard because at that time I had built up this company that I was busy, but I was also getting referrals. So instead of like constantly having to market every single month, I was getting referrals from my past clients to their friends. And then that would make it easier for me to fill my year, my calendar for the upcoming season. And so I had decided, okay, yeah, no, we're going to take the construction company. That's going to be my focus. And I really did love that. It was definitely challenging. Like I said, it kind of took me out of my girly element and made me like go in and like take on that role of a girl in a construction industry, which was already incredible and powerful, but I was like ready to tackle it. But of course, the world works the way it does, and there's got to be a challenge thrown in, because this would not be my journey story about challenges and resilience if I did not start off with a challenge right away. And so the challenge that then came was that usually with the refinery, we would get the maintenance contract every single year, and there was no like bidding or really having anything. It was just given to us because we did such a good job. And so then comes corporate down more into the refinery aspect, less of those personal relationships you've built within the refinery and more corporate, more numbers. And so what they asked is that we start to bid on it, which is fine until we bid on it. And then they said, you know what, we're not going to guarantee this with guarantee the job, the work with you guys. Maybe we'll actually split it between two companies. And at this point, my dad was saying, you know what, I don't feel comfortable with you guys taking this over because it is no longer stable. The way they're setting it up, we would have to bid for every job. We wouldn't have that security of financial income. We wouldn't have that security of being able to keep our employees on year round, because they weren't giving us any contract that really allowed us to provide the security, but also the lifestyle we had created for ourselves, but also our employees, knowing that they were going to be they would have their jobs year round. And so my dad and my mom just said, you know what? It's not worth it. I don't think that this is something you guys should pursue. We had a full discussion on it, but they decided that nope, they were going to shut down the company, which was like such a hard decision for them to make, and also a hard decision for myself and my sister, because her and I were going to do it together. And we really just had to pivot and change. So I had already pivoted and changed from events into construction, and now I was pivoting back into events again. However, by this time, I had lost that momentum that I had built with my event planning company, which was really, really tough to deal with, because I had a really successful company. And like I said, I was getting those referrals. I wasn't having to market so hard to build up those relationships and that trust with my clients. And now I'm coming back in and I'm starting from scratch. And now this is a point where event planners are becoming more mainstream. It's not something like I was the only website that you would search. You would go into Google and search it, and I would be the only website that basically popped up. No, now there was way more competition. There was way more talk about search engine optimization, because you were not on the first page anymore. And if you were on the first page, anyone who knows, you want to be on the first page of Google, because not many people will scroll past that. And so even when you posted on Facebook, like it just didn't have Facebook or Instagram, it didn't have the same marketing, strength that it had in previous years when we had started. So here I am back to rebuilding. I do rebuild it again. I create this another same company, but obviously I just built it back up to that same level of caliber of service, the same level of being full in terms of my calendar for weddings for that year and the next year. And obviously I wouldn't again be another story of resilience if I didn't hit you with another pivot. And so at this point, this is when COVID comes in. And we all know with COVID, the industry just got shut down. Everybody was told they can't go out, they can't gather, we can't get together, and it got shut down. And so my income went from a full booked season to nothing. And then it continued like that, because we know COVID lasted for several years. And so that is probably one of my hardest moments, is not only have I built this business from the first time and then built it up again, but now it's gone and there's no timeline for when it's coming back. And so I just remember thinking always like, what is the worst thing that can happen? And the worst thing that can happen is I fail, right? Like that's the worst thing that can happen. And to me, this was a massive failure. Like this is probably worse than a failure. Failure to me was thinking, okay, well I fail and I just start over, or I redo, like I just adjust whatever I'm working on, and whatever I was doing didn't work. No, this was like you fail to the point where you have no money coming in and you're not providing for your family. And thank goodness my husband's amazing, and he stepped up. He financially supported us. He supported me in my lowest times. I remember just being devastated, utterly devastated. I was like, when are all these pivots and these shifts and changes going to end? When am I going to get a break? And I remember going up into the bathroom, and this is why I always say this, going to the bathroom and crying, just crying. I waited till everybody was asleep, and I put on such a strong face, but I waited till everyone was asleep, and by the time they were all asleep, I went up into the bathroom and I just bawled, full out, snotty, nonstop bawling, because I was just at such a loss. I had built this company twice now. I've had it taken away from me. Like, how awful of a thing. And it also, at this time, my identity was really wrapped up in what I did. And so I've had my identity like challenged multiple times with this. And this is still something that I even always have to think about, is my identity is not based on my business. And nor should your identity be based on our business. But it is very easy for you to do that because it's your baby, it's your whole world, it's what you focus on and what you spend most of your day working on. And so when this went down for the second time, I just felt like I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Like, I don't even know. And luckily also at that time, I was in a group with an amazing coach, and they just helped me pick myself back up and help me see like what my strengths were and what my superpowers were. And I was able to really think about, okay, what did I love doing? What was I good at? Well, I was a graphic designer for school. That's what I went to school for. So I knew I could fall back on my graphics, right? I was also like really, really into being a fashion influencer. I just loved it. I loved clothes. I loved style. I loved being able to create social media that was based around the content of that. And I'd also used the social media part for my event planning business, where I was really good at marketing it. Instead of just taking a photo and posting it, yes, I did do that. I would definitely, instead of me taking a photo, I would hire a photographer to come in and take photos for me. That would be perfect for my portfolio, but also for on social media. But I was one of the first ones to really love before Reels was a thing. Like, I just loved video. And so I would do video of the clothes I was wearing. So yeah, I would put my tripod up in like some parking lot that had a cool backdrop, and I would like do my like outfit look, I guess, my try on sort of thing, so you could see what it looked like, see it in a lifestyle aspect. And I would take that video and I would clip it all together just like you would see in Reels, but this is again before Reels. And so I loved that aspect of it. Funny side note, when you see an influencer doing that in the middle of the parking lot, when a car comes, you have to run and get your tripod before somebody knocks it over or hits it or destroys your camera that's attached to it. Anyways, so I had that aspect in terms of the influencer fashion world, but then also, like I said, I was using the video content for Reels. So I would also like create my own videos and then post them on YouTube. But I also hired a videographer to come and shoot the videos, because even today, if you look at the way video is used, video is so much like, people love to see video because they can see how, for clothes, how it fits on you. When it came to the event space, you could see all the details that went into that tablescape. If you take a photo, it's just a still photo and you can only kind of zoom in and see what you can see. But video, you could pan and run the whole length of the tablescape. You could show the feeling of walking down the aisle. You could video yourself walking down the aisle so the bride could get a feeling for what that would look like. You could video what the whole ceremony looked like with all the benches stacked up and the arch, and what the arch looked like from all different angles. You could show the liveliness and entertainment, the speakers. You could show all the little details. Let's say you had like the champagne tower. You could video up all of that. Video was so powerful, and I loved that aspect so much. And I had seen so much success by using that, and using that before everyone else had. And so when I was thinking about what I could do, I knew the influencer side of social media and contracting. I knew the side of a company marketing themselves from social media. I knew the graphic design side because I was a graphic designer, so I could create all the graphics for it. And so what I did was I created a company. Well, I created my social media agency, but before I even decided that that's what it was going to be, I knew what my superpower was, and then I knew what I wanted to design my business to look like. And this is really important because I will say this over and over and over again. You get to design your life the way you want to. You get to design your business the way you want to. We do not need to have a business because this is how it's supposed to be set up. It really opened my eyes working with a business coach to start understanding that my event planning business, or any business, did not have to be structured the way we think it should be structured, right? Like, I didn't have to work the 9 to 5 hours. I didn't have to just have feast or famine type of a business. I could adjust it to create something that worked better for me. So when I was building this business, I really wanted to focus in on One, creating reoccurring revenue, because like I said, it was feast or famine, and I really wanted to know every single month what I was making consistently. I didn't want to have to chase for my business over and over and over again just so that I could have an income. I wanted to know every month. Second part is I wanted to work from anywhere. That was really important to me. I wanted to be able to travel, and if I wanted to go to Mexico and take off, I could bring my laptop and work from Mexico. If I wanted to work from the lake, I could work from the lake. I wanted that freedom to be able to work from anywhere. And then the third thing should be an obvious one. I wanted one that was a business that was pandemic proof. I did not want anybody to have any power over shutting my business down again, which meant that I needed to make sure that, again, I could work from anywhere, but it was not something that had to deal with COVID or us getting together. I really wanted to make sure it was pandemic proof because that was never going to happen to me again. And so what I did was I created my social media agency. And if you were to ask me about events and my pricing for events, I could tell you right down to the detail of this is what the package is, this is what it starts at, here's why it's priced this way. Did you want a discount? Nope, we don't offer discounts. I was really firm on what you were getting, but also valuing myself. So when I created my social media agency, and really it was social media management company at that time because it was only me, I did not have that confidence in my pricing and knowing like my packages and what I was delivering and the results. And so this is not something I recommend, but if you are like me and you don't feel comfortable charging the rates that you should be charging when you're a confident social media agency, I massively undercharged myself, and to the point that I was a very full social media management company. However, I was making pennies. Like pennies. I was putting in hours and hours and hours of work and just not making anywhere near enough, like nowhere near. And I remember being just burnt out, like really, really burnt out. I couldn't even keep up. And I felt so guilty because for 2 years I didn't have an income. And I finally get an income and it's pennies, but I'm not spending any time with my family. And we were also keeping our kids home from school at that point. So I was like their support system when it came to teaching. I mean, obviously they had online teaching, but you still had to be at home and hands-on to make sure that they understood it and all those fun things. And so I just really remember being really upset with myself in the sense that I was taking so much time away from my family and it wasn't financially worth it. I just couldn't like understand how I could be away from my family so much and still loving what I'm doing, but not making the money that I deserve to be making. And so same coach, this should be like a little bit of an episode of talking about the resilience and pivots and shifts and stuff, but also the power of a really good coach supporting you and a really good community of women supporting you, because I'm telling you, I don't think I could have done any of this without these people in my life. And so I decided, I went to a business retreat with this coach, and it was with all the women in my group, and we went there, and I remember everyone does their hot seat and they all get to like talk about their business and what questions they want support on. And I remember just bawling. Yep, I'm bawling again. I am definitely a crier. I'm definitely very like heartfelt, emotional sometimes. And I remember just bawling and being like, I'm working so much, I'm not making enough money, and my husband does so much, and I'm just like, I feel bad, I'm not contributing, and being just this ball of like guilt and feeling so bad that I just had this successful company and now I was just like flailing, trying to figure it out. And that is part of being in a business. It is flailing sometimes and trying to figure it out, trial and error, and seeing what works and what doesn't. And I remember the women in that group saying to me, you know what, Jen, I think you need to just increase your prices. And like increase your prices, like it was a lot. It was like ridiculous amount that I was supposed to be charging. It was not charging. And I left there thinking they're right. Like I'm spending so much time on all these people's social media for pennies, and I'm not valuing my time. If I look what I was making per hour and the amount of hours I was putting into it, it was ridiculous. But I had to personally go through that to understand my value, my packages, what was included in those packages, really setting some boundaries as to what they're getting for that amount, what I'm delivering, what I'm not delivering. That was another huge one, was deciding what I was not delivering. And so it wasn't until then that I increased my prices. And at this point, I had just built up this company. Like, even though I was unhappy with it, I had just built it up and felt that confidence. But I told everybody, okay, I'm increasing my prices. You have 30 days. And I am telling you, it was like everybody was gone in a second because I was charging nothing basically. And I don't blame them. Of course they would. I was doing it for so cheap. It was so affordable for them to do that. And then when I increased my prices, it just didn't work with their businesses anymore. And so I went from, again, having this company, this is like my third fail, I would call it, my third time where I'm now having to rebuild. I went again from having, I think I had like 10 clients to 0. Like, I'm not kidding, 0. Not one person continued on with this new updated pricing. And again, I don't blame them, but this is something as a part of my journey that I needed to go through to confidently say, oh, this is my price and here's what you get. And so what I did was I went to my dream clients. I really figured out who I really wanted to work with, because by also going through these past clients, I kind of figured out what I didn't want to work with, like the types of clients I didn't want to work with, the types of content I didn't want to work with. And so what I did was I really dreamt up the people that I really valued. I valued their company. I loved their brand. It would have been incredible for me to work with them. And I went and I pitched them and I said, okay, I really want to work with you. A lot of them actually were brands that I had worked with in my fashion influencer days. So they already knew how much I loved their brand, which I cannot say was such a strong selling thing for me, because they knew I loved their brand. They knew I owned multiple items from their shops. They knew that I had shared them on social media, and not just shared them like, here's the contract, I'm an influencer, you give me this item and I will promote you once and you will only see one story and one post about it. No, I loved the brands that I worked with. And so these brands knew that I went above and beyond showcasing their product when it came to the influencer side of things. And just luckily, they happened to also be looking to either grow their business and needed to bring on someone as a team, or they were actually looking for someone in social media, and the worlds just collided, which was incredible. And so I pitched these dream clients. I pitched 3, and 2 said yes right away, and then the third did end up saying yes later on. But I really realized, like, this is what I meant to be doing. And all of those things, all those shifts and pivots and setbacks led me to this point, right? Like, I gained so much knowledge from every single thing, and it really helped shape who I am. It really helped build my confidence in multiple different areas, and also believe that just because something feels like a failure doesn't mean that it's a failure. It is just a pivot and a shift into something that's greater and meant for you. You just weren't ready for it yet. And so now we are to where we are today, where I have a social media agency. Yes, I will claim the agency now because I do have a team of incredible women that work with me. I have really, really incredible clients. They have shifted and changed a little bit from when I originally pitched my dream clients, but I will tell you that I love my clients and I love what I do, and I love that it gives me recurring revenue, and I love that it gives me the freedom to travel, and I love that it is pandemic proof. But I love probably the most is that I get to choose my life. I get to design my life, which means if I don't want to work on Fridays, I don't have to work on Fridays. If I want to go play pickleball on Fridays, yeah, I can do that. Or I've started working out in the morning after I take my kids to school, which means that I'm kind of interfering in what should have been my original thought of my work hours. But I get to design my life the way I want because I've built a business that works that way. And it didn't come overnight. Like I said, with the event planning business, I'm telling you, I worked hours and hours and hours, and I was also seasonal, and like it just was an incredible business, and I love events to pieces, but I love what I do now, and I would not be here if I had not gone through every single one of those challenges and pivots and setbacks. And so I want you to really think about your business and how you have gotten to the place that you're at now? What challenges or failures have you gone through? I've loved on this podcast talking to people about what they think is a failure and then shifting their thought perspective on how it's not actually a failure, how it has actually supported them in growing their business bigger than they thought they could. Or it's helped them really understand that this has really pivoted them into something that did not exist before, and they were able to create it and bring it out to the world. These pivots are really incredible things, and they suck to go through. I will tell you, lots of tears and lots of understanding and not understanding and lots of sleepless nights. But it really allows you to create something beautiful. And when you look back on it, I want you to be proud that you made it through a really hard time, but also really celebrate yourself, because look where it brought you. Look what you have from this. This is such an incredible gift. Even though it's hard, it is such an incredible gift. So look at that when you're looking at the things you've gone through, but then also look at what you can create for yourself, for your business. Are you able to create recurring clients, recurring revenue, travel freedom, a team, a 4-day work week? Like, when you go through challenges and we design our business, we really get to choose what we want. And so I really wanted to share this with you, because life and business is going to give you so many ups and downs, and they are going to potentially make you want to quit, or potentially make you want to give up, or make you just shift and pivot from something to something entirely different. Like, events is, kind of related a little bit to social media, but it doesn't mean that once you're in that industry, you are stuck in that industry. You can create anything you want in your life. You just have to be brave enough to go for it and to challenge yourself and to really just decide, I believe in myself no matter what, and I'm going to go for it. And if you don't believe in yourself no matter what, then find yourself some amazing coaches and women around you that can support you, because you're unstoppable. You're unstoppable when you really start to give yourself credit for all of the amazingness that you have gone through. So I really hope that today has helped you, or today's episode has helped you really think about yourself and your business a little bit different, and give yourself some celebratory congratulations on what you've gone through, because you're amazing. You're incredible. You're resilient. You have such incredible power within you to shift and pivot and grow. And we just have to be open to it. Even if it's really hard and it's really painful to get through, the other side, just know something is really incredible waiting for you. So thank you again for joining me today. If you liked this episode, please make sure to share it with your friends, with your family. I think that my journey is something that is really good to listen to, because I want you to think about it in terms of yourself. If I can do it, you can do it, right? And I think that we have so much power to create so much beauty for ourselves, but also the people that are around us, and have that be a ripple effect out for them. And so please do share, and I just appreciate you guys for being here today. And if today's episode resonated with you, I want to invite you to the Be Bold Conference 2025 on October 7th at the Whitewood Barn. I really want you to surround yourself with bold women in business who get you, who support you, and who can help you grow. If we've learned anything from today's episode, we need to really surround ourselves with women who just understand what we're going through. So I encourage you to grab your ticket, join us so we can get together and learn from each other. We're going to have some incredible speakers. We're going to be surrounded by incredible women. And this is just your chance to build that business and life you truly want. Design it the way you want it to be. So thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, keep taking bold action and designing a business that works for you.